Hello Uganda, good evening and welcome to the show On The Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Uganda is largely a country full of young people. 70% of Ugandans are maybe 30 years and below, which means whoever is going to lead this country will have to have the mandate of the young people. So yes, the voice of the young people is crucial, and it's the young people that will determine who is going to be our leader almost at every level. But are the young people being listened to? What kind of voices are coming up from the youth of Uganda? So tonight, I host 3 young Ugandans. We want to hear their views, we want to hear their take on matters of politics. Let me introduce my panel this evening. Men and women of substance, young Ugandans who are aspiring to lead. I have Mr. Moses Kidega, Secretary, National Youth Council. Thank you so much for joining us, Moses.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for having me this evening. My name is Kidega Moses Ogenroth, like you've said. I serve on the National Youth Council of Uganda. I hail from Gulu District, where I am a proud member of the National Resistance Movement. But also I'm a candidate for the Northern Uganda Youth Member of Parliament.
All right, thank you. I have Mr. Ezra Byakutangaza, who's a youth politician. Thank you for joining us, Ezra.
Thank you very much, Kamara. My name is Ezra, the NRM Youth Chairperson of Masimport Sub-County, Chiyandongo District, and representing the Uganda National Students Association in the National Youth Council. And I'm happy to share my views this evening.
We also have another young lady of substance. Shamim Nambasa is a youth politician. Shamim, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kamara. Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Shamim Nambasa. I'm a pharmacist by profession, the 87th Guild President of Makerere University, a member of the National Unity Platform.
Okay, I'm so excited to have young people. You know why? Because this country is largely full of young people. I believe whoever is going to lead this country in the next election will be in that office because the young people have said so. You have the mandate to put whoever wants to lead in those offices. So, how is your voice shaping up Uganda's destiny, Mr. Kidega?
Thank you, Patrick. I think today's election, where we had the National Youth Council elections happening at village level, where the over 72,000 villages in Uganda went to polls to choose who their leaders are going to be at that level. And the results speak for themselves. From the tally center that we have been having this evening, it demonstrates that over 80% of the elected leaders at village level for the Youth Council were NRM flag bearers. This to me is a confirmation and a testament of time that the NRM has continuously done things that have earned it popularity and earned its support among the young people.
So wait a minute. These elections are countrywide. They have just ended about 3-4 hours back. You already have seen it on your dashboard. NRM has taken 80%. How did you even get to know that?
So I sit on the National Youth Council of Uganda.
Yeah, even if you sat anywhere else, but how would you in 3 hours to know that you have got it 80%?
If you may allow me to respond to that. So the structure of the Youth Council trickles down to every village in this country. So it means that we have contact in every village, every parish, every sub-county, and in every district. We simply need to activate these individuals and make sure that they're active right from when the process begins up to when it ends. But Kamara, that isn't the point. The point I'm trying to put across is the mere fact that the majority of Ugandans that went to the polls today to elect their leaders at village level chose the NRM. And why? Simply because in the past 5 years, the NRM and President Museveni has committed effort to investing in the young people. Today, the young people who could have lost hope in terms of education can have a belief that with UPE and with USE, there is a chance for them. 10 million young people join universal primary education each and every single year, all right? The over 10,000 young people who have benefited in the last financial year from the Youth Livelihood Program, and they've been able to have access to startup capital. They have demonstrated that benefit in electing the NRM at the village structures today. There's so many young people who have benefited from the Juakali programs under the Ministry of Gender today. went to the polls and said, we believe in the NRM because of what they've done for us. So the story goes on and on.
Okay.
So,
okay, you can hold on your point there. Let me come to you, Dr. Shamim Nambasa. You can hear your colleague seated just on the right side of viewers here, speaking with a lot of, he's buoyant that, you know, NRM has already picked 80% of these grassroots, you know, special interest group kind of election. If that is the case, if I have to use Uganda's today's lingua, for you as Nope, kawedemu.
Well, thank you so much, Kamara, and I like that you raised that question. It's important for us to know that the Ugandan population, over 78%, are below 30 years. So that then means that today the biggest part of our population was actually deciding and making a very important step in who then becomes our voice. But then it's unfortunate that over the 78% population of young people, that not even, we would have expected that maybe 50% as the bare minimum to have turned up and participated in these elections. But it's unfortunate that if we get the statistics, it will be about 5% that participated in these elections. So this then goes to show us.
What explains that?
And so that is what I'm coming to, that this then goes to show us that first and foremost, what is actually not happening, what is actually going wrong. And for me, coming from the opposition first and foremost, I must say that we did have registers come out, but then many of these young people were missing in these registers. The process of nomination, the process of these young people participating in these elections has been very frustrating. But then also it goes to speak to the EC and the role that they are meant to play in as far as civic awareness is concerned. That we have these elections, we have some young people that are still in school and are expected to actually participate in these elections. We have so many young people that are still unaware of what these elections are about and of what importance that they are. But then also looking at the state, for example, there has been deliberate efforts to suffocate the civic space, to suffocate civic society, and so then we do not see such young people actually picking interest in such kinds of things. But then also we must also see that what have the youth leaders that have been in these positions been doing? That we have so many young people that are not aware that we have a youth member of parliament that represents the central region, that represents different regions, or even at the national level. But then also, can we assess what has been the impact of these leaders? At what point have we seen these youth members of parliament raise issues on the floor of parliament that speak to issues affecting young people? And also, it is important for us to note that it works in the favor of government that few people turn up to these elections. There has been, I've been to some polling stations where gunshots were fired. I've been to polling stations where people were actually beaten up.
Dr. Nambasa, I want to come back to the fact that only, in your own words, about 5% could have turned up.
Yes, yes.
You are a new party, aggressive, vibrant, dazzling the young people.
Yes.
It's also incumbent upon you to be able to sensitize the people to come on the polls.
Yes.
If the young people have not turned up, and only 5% has turned up, and people like you even know better, and you have not informed them to come, you have failed, you're failing on your own sword.
I would like to answer that we did actually try to do our best. We have tried to inform these people, but then I'm speaking to the fact that the process itself is frustrating. We have seen the state come into our headquarters and shoot gunshots. We have seen such things happen. We did have a youth protest vote launch that was blocked by the state. So while we do our efforts, and while it may not be necessarily our role to play, that we have an EC that is meant to do this, we actually do have a role to play as a political party. We have done our role. We have tried to do our best, but we are suffocated by the state.
All right.
And it works in their best interest that we do not have so many young people.
Let me go to Ezra. Ezra, I want to take you back to Uganda's history. 1962 or thereabout, when Ugandans were trying to fight the colonialists, it was young people like you. Dr. Bote was around 38. Kabaka Mutesa maybe about 30, the same age. People like Benedict Kiwanuka, your age. And they fought very hard, and when the moment needed them and the country needed them, and they gave us independence. Come maybe 20 years later, or 1980, when Yoweri Museveni thinks maybe things are going haywire, the guys just left university, went to the bush, sacrificed their 5 years. They are in their 20s. They are in their early 30s. They stood up and fought for their country, and that moment of history we can always remember. Come now, you guys. You're on TikTok, you are maybe on sausages and all this kind of stuff, and you're not doing anything that is going to be remembered in history. What's wrong with your generation, Ezra?
Thank you very much, Kamara. Again, Ezra Biaktangaza, my name, intending Western Youth Member of Parliament. Kamara, even in history, even in the pre-colonial period, it is true. I'm only confirming your thought. The swordmen that protected the kingdomships were youth. The people that dug and did agriculture on behalf of the kingdom and brought food to the kingdom, to the stores and what, they were youth. So I want to appreciate that it's our absolute obligation to stand up for our country. But before I dwell into your question, I want to congratulate every young person that has demonstrated the zeal to stand up for their country by offering leadership. Prior to this General Committee elections of the youth, we had the NRM Youth League elections. And I want to report that we did successful elections from the village level to district level. We are yet to go to the to the national.
Also, Ezra, you're probably the NRM, right?
Yes, yes,
okay.
Yes, I am. I introduced myself as the NRM chairperson, youth chairperson.
I just wanted, you know, Mr. Kidega doesn't have to say much.
Okay, yeah, but you know,
I don't know whether it's just a political externalism. How about the inside part?
Okay. So, Mr. Kamara, I want to congratulate all young people that showed up. Yes. That is the first step of boldness. Number two is we must, for friends like Shamim, my young sister here, she's the 87th Guild President. I am the 85th Guild Speaker of Makerere University. So, I want to applaud all this panel. All these have started the journey of working for this country, not today. I know them personally, including myself. So, there's nothing wrong with us. We need to shift a bit and set our priorities clear. But I can tell you, just like Museveni it had to take a Museveni to lead the other youth of their generation to set a pace for us for the next so many years.
Your spine is wobbly. This is not what we used to see. When the moment needed the young Ugandans to raise up and do something, they stood up. And that was ancient history. But today,
it takes Mr. Kamara.
You are lacking a spine of steel.
I agree with you.
You are wobbly.
That we could have maybe gotten lost in the comfort that our forefathers created for us. The Musevenis of today have sort of given us so much hope. But you and I today come here to make a wake-up call to the young people. That it is important to realize that we need to design and identify our common goal as a generation today and pursue it, regardless of which party you subscribe to. And I pity, especially for those that are in the position who even subscribe to movements whose core principles they don't understand that deep. So I think it is a wake-up call. It's our responsibility, which we are doing, but this is not something we can do overnight.
So let me ask. I can imagine, Ezra, that yes, almost after every 5 years, young people are joining, like you have joined.
And others are exiting.
And others are exiting. There's some kind of a renewal, which is supposed to bring the energy. But is this renewal only supposed to reach at the middle level? What happens to the topmost, where we don't see the renewal? It's the same General Museveni, the same General Ali, the same Kadaga, the same General
That should be a question.
What is happening to the renewal? When the young people are renewed, Is there a glass ceiling that you are not supposed to break?
No, I don't agree that there's something.
Yeah, because you're talking about this, there's that continuous renewal.
For us in the NRM,
what is limiting the renewal up to the very top?
Mr. Kamara, for us in the NRM, we believe in steady progress, and steady progress is systematic. It is systematic in a way that, for example, if I were to speak in my own capacity, after becoming USA president, for example, my only opportunity is transition and go into legislation. And that is what I'm headed for. So I cannot, you see, leadership also has to go through severe nurturing. So what I think, the gap that could have been there could not be a question for the young people of this generation, of my generation. Maybe what we could call the young adults, who are people from your generation to people around the early 40s. So for us, I think we are doing what it takes. We only need to be awakened to realize that actually even the peace and the comfort we have had for the last about 4 decades is at stake if young people do not wake up to realize that we have a challenge of poverty that is going to eat us up. If young people, my sister here, we were having a casual conversation before we came. It's
good you are actually pointing out that we are facing an existential threat. We are facing poverty. We are facing so many things that they are facing. But there is somebody who's supposed to be running this country. There is a party supposed to be running this country, even though we are facing the threats that you're telling us. But Ezra, Shamim, and Moses, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests this evening are young Ugandans. I have Mr. Moses Kidega, I have Dr. Shamim Nambasa, and Mr. Ezra Byakutangaza. We are trying to assess the role of the young voices on how they can actually shape the destiny of Uganda. Are they ready? And you know, I know, Mr. Kidega, you are aspiring to become a member of parliament representing the youth of northern Uganda under the NRM ticket. And I'm sure most people will be asking you, after 40 years, you know, I want to give you an example. 5 years of John Pombe Magufuli, there's so much to show for Tanzania. 40 years of NRM, you'll struggle to see the things. How do you reconcile that?
All right. I think the viewers all, we owe the viewers some fact. Is that in the 40 years that you speak about, the NRM has managed to create extra 23 public universities. In the 40 years that you've alluded to, the NRM has created access to education, universal primary education and universal secondary education. In these 40 years, we have 130 seed schools across the country. In these 40 years, we have gone to a tune of 80% in terms of establishing a primary school in every parish, a secondary school in every sub-county, and a vocational school.
If you can hold there.
In these 40 years,
if you can hold there, because over 500,000 Ugandans graduate every year.
Yeah.
Only about 70,000 can find jobs. The 430,000 who have graduated are yes employed, but some of them are even unemployable. There was a study that our children from P1 to P7 are actually not even studying. In fact, the dropout rate for people start like 2 million kids come to P1. When you go to P7 to sit the exams, you have only 300,000.
Yeah.
Please,
Kamara,
if you give those examples, just know.
Kamara,
just know.
Kamara,
because they could poke holes in everything you're
Kamara, if you're looking for a perfect country, you will not find
No. I'm only giving you the numbers do not lie.
If you're looking for a perfect system, you're not
Kidega, sir, the numbers do not lie.
No one is saying
what it is that you're trying to
if I may,
market to us.
No one is saying here that the NRM is perfect. We are saying that amidst the challenges, there is progress made. And I've given you insights into what NRM has done in terms of education. All right, that today you have 10 million young people who could have lost hope in terms of attaining education, but the NRM government, owing to its universal approach towards education, has created opportunity in UPE and USE.
Yes, but if you go to the towns of Uganda, you'll see young people like you, all of them and I'm not despising what they are doing, all of them into the border economy, because that's what you have given. It's not that they don't want better, and they deserve better. If you go to the airport in Tebe, you see young girls who are being exported to the Middle East to go and become maids. I do not despise their work, but that's why you have put them. Ugandans deserve better, don't they?
No one is saying Ugandans don't deserve better. What I'm saying here is that, because what you're pointing inside to is the issue of unemployment. Unemployment is not unique to Uganda as a country. It is not unique to Africa. The issues of unemployment are cross-cutting. The question is, what is NRM doing about the issue of unemployment? Two things are being done. There is continuous investment in the private sector, all right, because there is justifiable belief that if we invest more money in the private sector through Uganda Development Bank, then these big entrepreneurs can invest more in their businesses, expand and create more jobs. This financial year that is ending in about 2 weeks' time, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority has created a reservation scheme whereby young people are able to partake, because 60% of our national budget goes into public procurement and disposal, all right? So government has created opportunity for young people in public disposal and procurement of assets and of goods and services. So for a young person who runs a business of a tune of 10 million Uganda shillings is able to have reservation in terms of procurement at local government level. At central level, we have created a reservation scheme whereby if your business can procure to a tune of 30 million, that procurement for government is reserved for young people. To me, this is creating...
You come from Gulu. You come from Gulu.
This is creating opportunity for young people.
Mr. Kidega.
So the question is, are we doing enough to create capacity of young people so that their businesses can have procurement to a tune of 10 million at local government level or 30 million at central government level? That is where the question should be. And I think there are attempts to create capacity of youth-led businesses. One is through creating access to credit and incentives. Today, as we speak, the young people who are into agriculture can have access to soft credit through the parish development model, through the youth livelihood program, the youth capital venture fund. All these are credit facilities that are meant to ensure that young people will have access to credit, they can invest in their businesses, and then they can grow at the same time. And
so the good thing that
unemployment
where you come from,
heaven.
Moses, you come from Gulu, and the young people are listening to you and watching to you right now. If you go to Bungatira, one of the division in Bardege, you see real poverty, urban poverty. It's the same story where I come from in Toro. It's the same story perhaps where Ezra comes from. And so the reality is...
Kamara, if I may chip in just a bit, I want us to understand, and we have a role to play here, that the growth of an economy or the visible household transformation is not an entirely government responsibility. As we grow through life and school, we understand that there is a role government has to play, and that is to provide public goods. I want, as we continue to have this conversation, to help Ugandans and young people to realize that it's a partnership. You know, when we talk about, for example, the GDP, I am an economist by training, and we like to speak in terms of big figures. For example, our GDP in 2010 was not more than 20 billion US dollars. And from 2010, and that's not to talk about the early 2000s when the NRM had just taken power, it was less than even 10 billion US dollars. Today, we stand at 50 billion US dollars. According to our NDP4, we are projecting to have gotten to 500 billion US dollars. All of that does not make sense to a common Ugandan.
No, it shouldn't be making sense to you, because the figures, Ezra, with all respect, the figures can look rosy, can look okay.
Yeah, but
if it's not transforming Uganda,
I am saying, Kamara, can you allow me make my point? We can talk about, I understand, me as an economist, when I analyze that, the statistics, they make sense to me. But for these figures to make sense to the person at their household level, they need to understand that it's a partnership between government and the household itself to transform the economy. If we are talking about the NRM achievements, think about the civil, because of course the history of Uganda is very clear. Immediately after independence, unrest defined us. And that's not anymore. We have just very small, what would I call them, not even uprisings. We have not had an uprising. We have some crimes around, not necessarily insecurity. So for me, I think one of the biggest achievements that the NRM has done, it has enabled us, given us an environment good enough. We are talking about unemployment. We wouldn't have been talking about unemployment if we didn't have. I've been in the young people. I told you I'm contesting as Western Youth Member of Parliament, and I have traversed Western Uganda. We have three categories of young people. We have the illiterate. True, we still have illiterate young people, which is very unfortunate. We have semi-illiterate dropouts, senior 6, senior 4, senior 3 dropouts. We have graduate youth who are unemployed, but unemployed in a sense of not being, largely those who are not employed and are literate are in the informal sector. They are employed in the informal sector. But the question would be, how would we enable or maybe formalize the informal sector? So the NRM biggest achievement, enabling. Do we have an environment good enough for us to make use of this land turn it into consumable goods that can transform the life of Ugandans? The answer is yes. Do we have challenges? Yes, no country can survive without a challenge. If we can have challenges at a household level, how about in a country with over 40 million Ugandans? So I think we need to go back to the question, what is the role of the young people today?
Okay, you've made your point. Let me come to you, Shamim. You've heard from both sides. It's good you're in the middle. You're getting information overload from different sides. But you know, these two gentlemen, they feel so buoyant, and they see Uganda that's more progressive. That's very progressive. But are they just living in a bubble?
Thank you so much. And I must express my disappointment, first and foremost, that these are aspiring youth leaders, that there are people who want to be our voices in Parliament. And it's unfortunate that they are trying so much to sugarcoat the dire state in which young people are actually living. I would be glad and happy if Awan Chidega or Ezra came out here and said, you see, our people are unemployed and we need to find solutions for these people.
Which we agree. I would be
actually glad that if you are moving in that direction. But then you are trying so much to sanitize the situation, yet that is actually not the same. Please allow me speak. You see, during the times of slavery, we had the house slaves and we had the farm slaves. So the house slaves felt like they were not slaves, and every now and then they would say, oh, our master is sick, our master is... They treated the master as though he was everything, and they actually forgot that they were slaves. But then the farm slaves actually did understand the situation they were in, and they tried so much to fight slavery. So while we sit here, I consider these two to be house slaves, that they see the situation we're in, but they are trying so hard to sanitize it so that they can actually gain from this situation. First and foremost, when you start to quote figures from the education, UPE and USE, and I like that Kamara is the issue, we have statistics of how many enroll into this system and how many actually get out of the system. If we are having over 2 million enrolling in primary 1 and only 300,000 are getting out of primary 7, where are the rest actually going? Can we start to address such issues? Can we start to address where are these other young people that do not actually complete P7, that do not actually complete senior 4 and senior 6 actually going? So what are the solutions? Why aren't they actually going ahead?
Have you heard about the skilling hubs?
And yes, around? I have. Let me finish what I'm saying, because I've heard about your skilling hubs and I've heard about different things.
They are not our, they are national.
If we are speaking about formal education, and then for me, in a situation and in an era where we are moving into AI, we are moving into digital environments, and you're still taking us back to praising skilling hubs where they're actually using old machines that are actually no longer being used, and that is what people are being trained to use, it then means that there is a problem. It means that we need to address these issues. When we start to quote statistics about unemployment, and then you're saying, no, at least they have been enabled. And for me to defend and say that the NRM brought for us peace and security, we appreciate that.
So let's also, Shamim, what makes you comfortable to think you are in where you are, and perhaps you're projected to go to a better Uganda? Why should people...
No, I believe that we actually deserve better. The world is evolving and we must evolve with it. And for me, for someone to quote for us and tell us that among the greatest achievements the NRM has had is giving us peace and security, we appreciate that. But they have had over 40 years. If you did establish peace and security within the first 5 years, we would be clapping.
Yeah, but Shamim, beyond the rhetoric of Museveni Agende, what did you want to do for Uganda's rhetoric,
beyond that, actually, because for me, I believe that it's not just about Museveni. We need a regime overhaul. We need a system overhaul. That it goes beyond just him. It is the entire system that is actually behind him. That when we start to look at the state in which we are surviving, if we are to analyze the health sector, for example, because I speak as a medical personnel, you find that they are boasting of structures that we have, but these hospitals do not actually have instruments, they do not have medical doctors, they do not have medicines, the bare minimum that we actually need. So for us, we are saying that while, yes, we appreciate that there is something that you have done, it is time that we take it from here. It is time that people start to get actually better service delivery. It is time we start to see young people going to school.
Take it from here without a plan.
No, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm explaining. I'm telling you that we are saying
you see, Kamara, it is very easy.
One at a time.
Beyond establishing these schools, because for me, yes, we appreciate you have done this, but even when the statistics show that they're actually not effective, we need to have a way forward. We have seen our neighboring countries actually developing beyond that. We need to see that young people, we need to have industrialization where young people are educated, but they're able to actually have jobs. We need to see the world is moving into industrialization. We have seen, and then for me, and then I see the state trying to send us back to agriculture.
All right. So, yes, okay, you made your point, Shamim. Moses, maybe one of the ways is you could just try to plug the leakages, stop the wastage that we see, stop the hemorrhage of public resources. And that's not my words. The Inspector General of Government said, we're losing 10 trillion. That's colossal sums of money. She's paid to oversee and look, look into the government expenditures and how money is being used, even if you go to the office of the Auditor General. And they're telling you know what, we are losing so much money through corruption. Yeah. And it's a fact.
It is.
So plug it. Because 10-point program, point number 7 was fighting corruption. You cannot be failing to do the same after 40 years. If you have not done it in 40 years, you will never do it.
You see, Kamara, I must say it's very easy for Shamim to speak from where she's seated. And you asked her a question, you said, what then is the solution? And she failed to indicate even one. Because to them it's only about, like you've said it, NRM must go. But go then to what next? They have failed to persuade Ugandans about what their plan is. And that is why I did not say here on this studio that Uganda is an utopian state. And that state exists nowhere in the world. There's no perfect state. We are saying, yes, there are challenges, but we are saying that amidst the challenges, there is progress being made. I gave you an insight into education. I went into how much the economy has been transformed and which efforts are being made to even grow it much more further. I've indicated to you how much money is being indicated, so how much money is being allocated into human capital development, all right? The question that Shamim...
they're just good enough, they've just read a budget of 73 trillion shillings. Yeah. The biggest chunk of that money is actually going into debt servicing. So don't say, so before you talk about development,
debts as well. So we are literally mortgaging our future.
That's the consumption. Yeah. And some of them is borrowed money. And now
the biggest chunk is borrowed
money. And when we borrow the money, sometimes money is put on the account and it is taken back. It's not used because Ugandan government is not ready to utilize the the money. In the meantime, it's speaking interest.
Interest, yeah.
Yeah. So this is how we are
the same cycle
wasting.
over and over again.
Mr. Kamara,
Ezra.
if I may come in there, I want to appreciate, like my brother Kidega is saying, we are not running a country without challenges. That we must agree.
No, but we are saying the
We are talking
challenges
about
are actually
40
solvable.
million Ugandans. If you're talking about debt, how many of the 40 million Ugandans are taxpayers in actual sense? A very small percentage of Ugandan payers, which is not something we should pride in. But we are saying we cannot do away with debt for purposes of investment and progress. When you look at
Ezra,
You see, the reason they're not taxpayers is because they're unemployed.
I suppose you come from Western Uganda.
I come from Chiriandongo district.
Yes, which is the same.
Yes.
And people there, they are gifted. They have wealth. They have their cows. How many?
Not
of
as
those?
such.
No, let me tell you how many of those who are selling their milk and selling their animals,
not
and by the way,
paying
are paying taxes,
They're
and yet,
not.
how many?
And that's
Even
that's the point that I'm
taxation is
making.
selective.
Yes,
The
but
point I'm making is,
and because you're saying Uganda,
I started by saying Ugandans must realize that development is a dual obligation of both government and the citizens themselves. We both have to pay a cost to that.
But
Now,
our taxes
speaking
are
to
being
the role of
misused.
the young people, why we are here this evening, the young people must realize, first, to start with, bridging the gap of governance in our structures. When we bring leaders who are pessimistic in nature, we will surely not progress. We must have hope and the zeal to fight for a better Uganda, but while not destroying everything that is here. If we say nothing has been done for the last 40 years, we are not being honest to ourselves. We are not being honest to our viewers.
Yeah.
This country has come from shambles to what it is today. All we can do as young people today is to appreciate that we have to build on the success story that Uganda has moved from the pre-colonial period to the post-colonial period to the NRM regime and beyond.
By the way, I don't think there's any person who can come and say that President Yoweri Museveni has not added value to Uganda.
And no one has said that.
No one has said that.
No one
because
has
he
said that.
definitely added value to this country. He was exceptional. He was phenomenal. But he had his time.
Yeah, and we are saying he's not added.
And that is the
past
clarion
10
call we are
years.
making to the young people.
Ezra, just, I beg to differ. So whose mandate is it to say that he has had his time? It is the mandate of Ugandans. So it is not the mandate of us,
Yeah, but
us in
yes,
this room.
yes,
But
yes,
we are
of us.
also
Yes,
Ugandans.
yes, Ugandans.
No,
Yes,
million.
Ugandans, through their elected leaders
the
in the
fourth-
Constituent Assembly, made a constitution
Yes.
that has been mutilated beyond recognition.
Kamara,
In fact,
Kamara,
I had-
Kamara,
And by just a few members of parliament that have been
yes.
used. So I feel like at the end of the day,
And by the way,
he has found always.
you're young people, but
himself where he is.
about more than 10 years back, I had a rare opportunity to sit with His Excellency the President and put a question to him about the age limit. And he spoke with a lot of clarity that at 75, really, there's so much logic in it. You cannot continue.
You can't
Even though I
continue.
know
Even
some people are still
biologically.
leading when they are beyond 75. But Ugandans, if you want somebody very good, go below this.
Kamara,
And he actually said the problem of Uganda is leaders
and I was
that
seated here,
overstay
Kamara,
power.
Kamara, can I come in there?
This is what.
It was his
Can I
own
come in
words.
there?
It's only after a long time that
Can
he
I
decides
come in
to
there
go back
to say that-
on his words.
True, the president could have said that.
Could he did.
He actually did.
He's already-
He did, yes he did. Maybe let me correct that. Yes, he did. You see, what is the obligation? I don't want us to lose a conversation on the role of the young people today.
Because by the
it
way,
is
75 is part of age. So we're talking about
because
age.
to bring the confidence.
And the renewal of leaders.
My thinking is, as young people today, we must give the older generation of Museveni and his people, his generation, confidence in us. And that responsibility lies with the people, the young people who are even constituting, the ones who are going to vote for the members of parliament, the ones who are constituting the councils today, to give confidence and shift the direction of governance from what is to what should be. What should be is with us, the young people. So it is a responsibility. I want us to shift from the lamentation to now what should be workable. What is the workable solution? The workable solution is young people stand up. We do not have the same abilities in community. We should not get a fashion designer to become a member of parliament. We should not get
what do you mean?
What I mean is we need to be very objective and assess the kind of youth leaders we are sending to different platforms. Only then can we convince the earlier generation.
I want to tell you that fashion and design is such a wonderful profession that has given people.
I'm not demeaning I'm not demeaning
I don't think that we need permission from the older generation for us to become leaders.
Fashion designer, for example. But I'm saying they may be talented in fashion and design as compared to governance. These are two different things. So it is upon the young people of this country to realize that the leaders we send at different levels must command confidence from the earlier generations.
I don't think we
can
have
run
to
this
do
country.
that. I don't believe that we must subscribe to a particular kind of thinking, or we must first build confidence in the people that have been there before us. We didn't see them Sevens do that. When they decided to take over power, they went to the bush. They did not try to convince the Obotes to allow them to take over power. In leadership, you stick out, stand out, and take it over. You do not wait for it to be handed over to you on a silver platter.
Mr. Kamara,
and that is the patronage that we keep talking
Mr.
about.
Kamara,
we do not have to beg them to take over.
Kamara,
we don't have to do that. We do not need for them to have confidence in us. We do not need permission from them. We do not actually need that. If we feel and believe that we are ready to take over power, we do not need to beg them first. We do not need for them to stamp on a particular paper and now say that we are handing over to you. No, that is not how leadership works.
So talk about leadership, Moses. I wonder what you would prescribe, because we seem to live in a Uganda where there's them and us, like now maybe, Nupis things, those are them, and you and Aremo saying we are the us, and how
where's the
that cohesion, and people are getting radical.
Yeah. Well, I think you're blowing it out of context, to be very honest with you. I subscribe to the opinion that, and first of all, to debunk what you said earlier on, that we think that time is up. Who is we? We is the 40 million Ugandans who every 5 years go to the polls and say, we are either satisfied with what the NRM is doing or we are not. And if they're satisfied, they extend the mandate of the NRM through President Museveni and the party leaders at all levels. And if they are not, they say no. So what the NRM is preoccupied with is ensuring that in every 5 years, the people are convinced about the NRM government and what we are doing, and they can renew our mandate. That is our only preoccupation. And that means that we must at every instant think about what is the interest of the people. We ceased to care about the who. We are now on the what. Because if there's a good road, the 600,000 tarmac road that we have today, if it is being used, it is irrespective of whether you are a Catholic, you're a Christian, you're NUP or NRM. So the NRM is a party of the what, not the who. So I will desist from your temptation of taking me to the discussion of it is now about them versus us. In the Uganda that the NRM presides over, it's a country of interest. Do we have a proper healthcare system? Are young people able to have access to things like credit for their businesses? What is education a common good vis-a-vis being a property that you have to procure on the market? Those are the fundamental questions, all right? And I think the judges of this question, the people who mark the leadership of NRM vis-a-vis that of NUP are the Ugandans.
But
the 40 million
the healthcare system, you shouldn't labor much to explain. You have a pharmacist there,
yes.
Dr. Nambasa,
Uganda ratified the Abuja Protocol, the Abuja Declaration. which meant that Uganda must invest 15% of our national budget into the healthcare sector. The budget that just passed last week, we are investing around 12-13%. We are not where we want to be, yes, but there is progress. All right,
yes,
we can agree.
But the speaker's budget
we will
is
say
bigger than
we will
the budget
agree
for some
that
regional
we will
hospitals.
Today, every parish, every sub-county has a healthcare center
That do not have
in this
medicines.
country.
They do not have.
And no one is saying it's
healthcare
perfect.
workers.
No one is saying that these
No, but
healthcare
you
systems
can't
are
use
perfect.
it as an
I think Mr.
example.
Kamara
You
must
think,
have.
you see, for me, a hospital
Beamin
is
Mam Diguram.
not just
I think let
the
Chidega
building.
make
Yeah,
his
but
point.
okay, but I have to clarify some
No,
things
you
because a
cannot-
hospital is not just a building.
Shamim.
The hospital is about what services you're offering.
Shamim.
Whether we have healthcare providers or we have medicine.
There's a time actually when I came to Kiriandongo Hospital,
Yes, please.
built in the 60s during the Obote's government, and there in the open, I saw a line of jerrycans, people, the caretakers trying to get some water. I reached near the theater of Kawolo Hospital, and what did I see? I saw a charcoal stove, because the autoclaving machines are not working, they are trying to boil the machines there, and then it is totally congested.
You see,
I'm like,
Kamara,
health workers. Listen,
Kamara, the
in
biggest-
Kiriandongo, where you come from.
What
And I
you're
don't think
using to defend
Ezra
your
yourself,
service delivery.
you'll be okay to, if you're sick, God forbid, to say, let me go to Kiriandongo Hospital.
I've
They
been
don't
there.
even
I've been there several times
No,
as a patient.
the best example would be why our government officials are always flown out of the country.
The point we are making,
Yet
Kamara,
we have health centers
we
in
agree
every
with
village.
everyone else who says we have challenges in the health sector. We agree, but we are saying we are progressing. What do we need?
not.
Like you said, closing the gaps. The young people of this country, the role of the young people. For me, today I came to discuss the role of young people in Uganda's governance. And I think the role of young people, they should desist it from temptations to elect leaders based on certain things. For example, corruption, that money, the voter buying. Then the sectarian preachings in terms of religion and in terms of tribe. One of the reasons why in the start you compared Uganda's development to that of Tanzania. One of the reasons that Tanzania has beaten us on in all the East African countries is that they have managed to surpass that devil of sectarian politics. Today, if we have to progress and address those issues in the health sector that we are referring to, which we all agree in the NRM, that we have issues. We talk about corruption. Yes, we agree that there are some elements, because over time, the NRM has grown to be a mass party, having people from different, nurturing in the different political parties. And they have come with the indiscipline of doing that. And of course, at some point, some people have misbehaved because of how they have grown. So we say, as the young people of this country, beyond the political parties, some of which I said we are here discussing this, and my sister here thrived through, because of one of the principles of the NRM, foundational principles, which is democracy. And I'm not saying we are 100%, but that is a point we set out to pursue, and we are pursuing it. So I'm saying young people's role today, is there unemployment? We agree entirely. Is there, my sister here is saying we shouldn't beg. The Musevenis didn't have an option. They tried the democratic processes and it failed.
We've
and
also tried,
the only
and
option was go to the bush. The option we have to the young people today, I want to tell the young people, today we have an option. Like my brother, from the presidency
to the bush,
to the bottom, we have our vote. Let's stand out. Let us defend it.
So there's no voting when them seven.
Let us do what it takes to protect the vote. The voting was outright theft
just like it is
No,
today.
well, that is relative. That is relative to your opinion. That is relative to your opinion.
We saw people being shot in broad daylight.
That is relative to opinion, because you know that we have people who also came with bombs and fuel and petrol to burn petrol stations. You know that. So
say that.
Defense of Ugandans is not nothing to call crime.
Okay, Moses. You know, every time we're now going into an election, I can see we're about to enter it full throttle. But every time there's that election, Ugandans die. And sometimes they are killed by the people who have the instruments of coercion in their hands. And must we shed blood because people have to be elected in positions of power?
Absolutely no.
Why do we have this recurrent killing of Ugandans on the streets of Kampala and everywhere else?
Well, just to respond to you, each time you go into an electoral cycle, there should be no killing. And my heart goes out in condolence to the Ugandans who lost their lives during the previous general electoral cycle. It was very unfortunate. It never should have happened. But also, I must state that Uganda is a young democracy. And that by its nature will mean that we will have challenges. Issues around how we organize our elections, issues around the credibility of the process, all right, just like any other growing democracy. But also, I am of the view that perhaps we went into the multi-party dispensation before we were ready as a country. Because you remember 2005, the pressure from the international powers that be forced, I would say it forced us because I don't think we were ready by then to open up to a multi-party dispensation. We are still trying to, you know, adopt the whole broad-based system, let everyone be part of governance. So for us to appreciate where we are today and where our multi-party democracy and the issues it is having today, we must be able to go back and unpack where did we go wrong. But that be it as it may, I think that there is continuous progress. The party that my sister belongs to today is a product of a democratic dispensation. They unsat the Forum for Democratic Change as the leading opposition party in parliament. It was not by coercion or by something, it was through a democratic process. They went to an election, sought the mandate of Ugandans, and Ugandans voted them. So why do they choose to consider democracy selectively? Okay. That when they win in Buganda, it is democracy. When NRM wins up country in the north, it is not democracy. The power of the NRM is in its ability to have the grassroots support and grassroots support really.
Moses, Shamim and Ezra, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On The Spot. My name is Patrick Amar, and my guest this evening, I have Ezra, I have Shamim, I have Moses. They're all young Ugandans, they're young leaders, and they're even aspiring to go to higher positions of leadership. Somebody has even sent a message already here to Shamim Navasa. Actually, he calls you Honorable. Shamim Navasa is Sembusi Ivan. You say, all the panelists, I want to tell you that what happened today during youth elections, I'm worried that this will reflect how the coming other election will be in the country, and my humble appeal to all Ugandans is that voting is right but not violence, and please, Uganda is bigger than all of us because we found it there before. Let's condemn all sorts of violence during voting process. This is Sembusi Ivan in Kalerwe. I don't know how Sembusi Ivan even got my number, but that's okay. So, wow. You know,
very interesting young person out there, following us very closely. And
But you see, again, looking at what happened, is frustrated, and you see violence.
Yeah, they actually beat up the young people who were contesting in Kalere, from the information I got.
So in the break, Moses put a very serious question.
Yeah.
That people in the National Unity Platform, beyond saying Museveni Agende, you seem not to have come out with concrete ideas why Uganda should really come around you, because you're taking us where, by the way?
Thank you so much. And I've seen so many of these people come out to make it appear as though the National Unity Platform has no plan of where we want to go. But I want to make it clear, based on the 2021 manifesto that we actually had, we had our pointers on what we want to put emphasis on. We were looking at the welfare of our security officers and the least earning at least 1 million. And for a long time we have seen these people, we've seen UPDF officers attacking police stations, we've seen police officers shoot themselves in broad daylight. So we are saying when it comes to security, let us care about their welfare, because at the end of the day they are giving in their lives for us. But then it's also important that we realize that we identify the gaps that are there with what we see of today. That when we talk about the healthcare system, we're saying that yes, you've constructed some structures which are not even enough, but they're understaffed. There are no medicines and there are no equipment. So when we say that actually for us we are looking at improved healthcare systems, we are saying that we are going to see that our healthcare centers are staffed. We have educated medical officers, we have educated specialists, but most of them are actually being exported to other countries. And what is unfortunate is that when people fall sick here, they're sent to India and they're attended to by Ugandan medical doctors. So all we are saying is that it is not rocket science. Give these people opportunities to serve.
But
I did my internship at Yumbe Regional Referral Hospital. The hospital is new, it is a good structure, but it was only staffed about, we had 4 medical officers who were on the government payroll, and then a few, like 3 that came from IRC, and then we had 1 specialist who was a pediatrician and still an administrator. So these are gaps that are there, not because we do not have the medical officers, but because the state is not giving priority to the healthcare system. And so that is a regional referral hospital. I'm talking about West Nile, I'm talking about Yumbe, I'm talking about Koboko, I'm talking about all the surrounding districts referring to this regional referral hospital. And it is unfortunate that when I looked at the budget, for example, that was passed, the Speaker's office actually has a bigger budget compared to the regional referral hospital that I'm talking about. So we are saying that for us as the National Unity Platform, we are looking at our priority areas. We are promising that when we take over power, when we are actually in charge, we are actually planning. Let me finish.
You see, Kamara,
what I'm saying is, first and foremost, the little money that you're getting, you're not putting it to good use. So we are actually going to first use the little that we have in actually a good way. If we are losing 10 trillion to corruption and we are not seeing the government even taking any action, we believe that this 10 trillion could actually do a very good job if it was put to good use. So first and foremost, it is how do we use what we have?
Okay.
Other than looking at people that are actually going to get debts to fund our budget, yet mortgaging our future.
You've made your point. Your response, Moses.
No, mine is actually more of a question, because what she has told us here is all about how do we spend our money.
Which is actually key.
Please, if you may.
Okay.
They have no plan on how we can generate money and increase what is already there in the national coffers. Today, Uganda collects 31 trillion per financial year. That did not come from an economy that the NRM government found in the state that the government found it in, all right? So it is not enough to say we will increase the salary of A, B, C, D. We will do this. There should be a plan as well.
They collect 31 trillion and actually pay the same kind of money in debt servicing.
There should be a plan on how, first and foremost, do we generate and grow the economy. Because with a small, meager economy, the issues like underpayment, the issues like lack of infrastructure, those issues become a daily story. They are not music to our ears, yes, but they don't go away because we wish to increase the salary of maybe a teacher. We should have a plan on, first and foremost, how do we create a much more bigger resource basket, all right? And that goes back to how do we grow the economy? How much money is being injected into production, all right? And the NRM government has demonstrated time and again that our interest is in growing the economy. The National Development Plan 4 that begins next year and runs for another 5 years is intended to grow the economy tenfold. All right, because you will not pay all these security officers if the money is not there.
The
right?
problem is you didn't allow
So
me to
the
finish.
first step that Shamim should have taken us on
No, the first
is
step
how
we are actually taking is how do we use the little that we
think
have.
of even how to invest that money.
No, because I don't see why we should actually be looking for more money, yet we are not even using the little that we have in a good way. And you can't be dismissive of that. If you're talking about the 10 trillion that we lose in corruption out of the 31 that we are collecting,
Kamara,
then you must also address that challenge first.
Mr. Kamara,
Ezra.
In my opinion, this discussion should be action-oriented. We should have pointers that we can easily track in terms of our discussion. I'll keep reminding you at this panel that everything that the status quo is as is, but what can the young people do? An old friend of mine, may his soul rest in peace, told me the future does not belong to the brightest, it belongs to the most organized. My sister here, Shamim, who is in the opposition, I want to tell you that the young people in you, majority of them are in the NRM, yet they still feel the pinch of what has not gone right. What can our role be? If we are talking about the growing an economy, can we discuss how do we grow the tax base and not suffocate the already existing businesses of the young people? How do we incentivize majorly the young people who are in the informal sector to get into the formal, to formalize everything they are doing so that we can have more money to fund major priorities? I heard you speak about not going back to agriculture. Mind you, even in today's economy, the backbone of Uganda's economy is still agriculture. And even in the new budget, starting with this year's financial year, in the new plan, starting with this year's financial year, we have 5 priorities set, the ATMs. One of them is ICT and science, but it doesn't remove the fact that we need modernized agriculture. We have arable land here. You see, you cannot say you're going to prioritize ICT when your biggest resource is land here as a factor of production. So how do we get this energy, this knowledge that we've gotten from school to take on our land? Maybe can you suggest a reform system? And for example, there is an issue, the Bararo issue in Acholi. That's a land question. Can we answer the key questions of our country? Say, for example, the land question. How do we then marry the two, the land question and the availability of energetic labor, and skilled, by the way? Most of it, some of us have hands-on. We have grown in peasant families. We have grazed. We have gone to gardens. We know what to do. But then on top of that, we know what modern agriculture looks like from what we've studied. So how do we all get into the production sector and produce for our country and grow our economy? Because that is our biggest problem.
And Moses, I want to open the line so that Ugandans, young Ugandans, wherever they are, you could just pick your phone. You're going to see the numbers on the screen. Call us and tell us what you think, what you see, what your experience is, the situation in which you are in, and how do you want to get out of it. Because this is the moment when you can also have your say. I'm waiting for those calls. And in case you disagree with my panelists here, that's normal, that's the nature of debate, but remember to disagree with respect. So let the calls come in. And be specific if you have a question whom you want to ask so that you can get your answer. And somebody here is sending a message, I think it's called Nicholas, is saying, but you know, that you tell the NIM candidate that Uganda does not collect 31 trillion in tax revenue, though it wishes to do so. Yeah, let me just say Nicholas. We'll just give you a piece of information.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hassan from Naguru.
Bukasa in Naguru. Hassan, go right ahead, sir.
Yes, now I'm asking those NRM guys one question. You see, for me, I graduated from MOB like some 5 years ago. And I started up my small business in downtown Kampala. Are you getting me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we're getting you loud and clear. Continue.
Yes, hello?
Please continue. You're so loud and so clear.
Now, when I started with my small capital of about 500,000. But when these things of government that do not favor young graduates from school, I started my own business because I wanted to empower myself. But these people came and demolished my business because it was illegally set up. Instead of supporting me, they just demolished. Since then, I've never had a job. And this government just instead of empowering us, they're just again demotivating us from building this country. Now, I wonder which kind of government is this? Huh?
I understand in this budget they want to give a tax holiday to young businesses of young people for 3 years.
Now, I want also the government to highlight us on certain issues, like, for example, unemployment for the youth. And how does the government prepare for the youth before they come out of school? This government has left us behind when you look at it. They are just only self-thinking for themselves. Look at the parliament itself. For example, starting from Anita Mong, that speaker is the speaker of deals when you look at the parliament.
Okay, Hassan, I'm not about to give you the platform to make a lot of allegations here that I'm unable to substantiate. Yes, I know. Yes, because I don't know the deal she has. I don't know the deal she has handled. So my investigative desk will have to give me that information. Then I can authoritatively talk about the deals. But your frustration, I hear you, Hassan, and thank you very much for your submission. I'm going to ask for some more calls. Please, you see the number on the screen? Yes, I have another call online. Hello.
Yes, good evening, Patrick.
Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm called Bishan. I'm calling from Kasokoso.
In Kasokoso, go right ahead.
Yes, you know, we have a problem with our panel government, with those people who say that we are a young democracy. Uganda is not a young democracy. It is a programmed funded thing by this establishment that captured power in 1956, whereby they invited into politics. We were conducting the young people's elections on our party center here. And it was all about the done, but we were lucky as NUP, we won on that party center. Then we went to another polling center at Adra, up in Kadi. And when we were there, they counted only one candidate who belonged to them. And themselves caused the disorganization, and the polling stopped there.
All right.
So it's just funny, because I do not know why they are in this. At least when you're losing, you accept that you are losing. There are very many areas where they are winning. At least you take that one, accept the road, take it in good faith. If it means the reconciliation, you responsible the country. It is the responsibility of those in power to reconcile the country. The reason as why there was a breakdown in Nigeria because the opposition were indecent.
All right. Yes, sir.
They are as indecent as them.
I want to thank you. You've made your point, sir. Thank you very much. I'm going to take maybe 2 more calls because time is not on our side as we speak right now. But yes, I have another call online. Hello. Hello?
Hello.
Yes. Good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Picho from Bapach.
I'm sorry?
This is Picho from Bapach.
From Bapach. Picho, go right ahead, sir.
Thank you very much for the show. I have been following critically, but I'm seeing that unfortunately, you have brought panelists who are all politicians. But if you could bring the real people, the real wananchi, who are feeling the pinch from the different villages, then you really feel you'll know the conditions Ugandans are going through.
I should have come to Chawente or Aduku, somewhere there. I call her there from. I think you're not so Ugandan. You're not very authentic. I think. Oh no, you guys. That's what a vote of no confidence from a bunch.
We are very sorry.
Okay. I want to thank you so much for those of you who have been able to be part of this discussion. Thank you for trying to have your say, because that's at least you have the feel of people are listening to my guests here. I'm going to give each one of you a minute for your concluding remark. Let me begin with you, Ezra.
Thank you very much, Kamara, and thank you, viewers. Thank you, young people who have turned out to offer, take on some risks, to be selfless and offer leadership to this country. I want to make an appeal that the ball is right in our hands. We must stand out to bring leadership that is representative of the young people, that is representative of our views, that is familiar or part of the problems that we share as a country. But that notwithstanding, I appeal to the young people to build the NRM and not to break it. I can understand the young people. Many of us are unemployed. Many of us are feeling the pinch. But the only way we can do away with some of these problems is by understanding that we ought to pay a particular cost at an individual level. There is no government whatsoever that, unless we want donations, which have been a disadvantage to us, to our progress. So I appeal to all young people to stand out, pay a risk, take a risk, pay the price. Let's build a country that we'll be proud of.
Thank you very much. And I know at the beginning you were like, well, let us not divide ourselves into,
ethnicity and religion. Let's be a Uganda before we are anything. Yeah. Let's be Ugandans before we are anything. And
by the way, let me tell you something. I think we are so much Ugandans that some people don't realize this. I come from Toro, for example, and I think our king, his name is Oyo. His father was Olimi. His uncle is Okwi. His other uncle is Ochaki. His auntie is Nyator.
And Ogen Road.
And then how do you take us to Toro from... by the way, I could be the real Achole Mochwe. Anyway, I'm going to jump and come here for your parting shot, and then I'll go to...
Thank you. My parting shots is to the very many Hassans who are out there. There are many Hassans in Acholi, in Gulu, in Lira, in Pakwach, in Moroto. They are there. People who are struggling to retain their businesses. My message of hope to them is that there is a plan out, all right? And that there is money that has been put, for example, in the Youth Livelihood Program, in the Parish Development Modo, in the Youth Livelihood Program, in the Youth Capital Venture Fund. Let's be able to have access to this money and be able to use it to grow our businesses, all right? But also to the young people who believe or who are having issues with regards to education. Government is trying to make steps. It might not be perfect and might not be where we want it to be, but there is effort being made, for example, to introduce skills, and that's why today we have 20 zonal presidential skilling hubs to bridge the skilling gap and to create a more empowered young person, so that once they leave school, they're able to self-employ and to have meaningful employment and contribute towards the growth of their country. So the issues are not unique to Uganda as a country, but effort is being made, and we should be able to just continue to trust that very difficult process.
Let me tell you a good word. Maybe you have won yourself a fan somewhere in Kasese, because somebody said the guy next to you is a future good leader. I think next to me should be you, right?
Thank you.
and you, Shamim, I have a friend of mine in Kasese. Her name is Grace, and Grace says that Noop girl should first tell us what the 50 Noop MPs have done in Parliament for the 4 years they have been there, and how about the Loop's big budget? Why didn't he redistribute it to the health centers he's talking about? Maybe you can respond to Grace as much as you also try to make your concluding remark.
Well, I'll say that Parliament is only as good as the majority. And if the majority are clowns, then it turns into a circus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for hosting me, Kamara, and thank you to all the young people that have tuned in today. First and foremost, I want to say to the young people that while we continue to live in the dire state that we live in, people continue to borrow money in the name of Uganda and fund their very expensive lifestyles. And they'll still come out and tell us that they're doing so much for us, make us feel like they're doing us a favor, tell us that they're giving us good education, they're giving us free schools, but they do not take their children there. Promise us that they've given us improved health care, but when they fall sick, they will be flown out of the country, and it will still be us that go to these poor hospitals, go to these bad schools, lack jobs, and still have to work so hard to make sure that we fund their expensive lifestyles. But it is not all done. We still have a chance as young people to show our stand through a protest vote, through different ways that we can come out and have our voices heard.
By the way, tell me about the protest vote.
I thought you were giving concluding remarks. Let us continue to make our voices heard. Let us continue to speak out. And thank you to the young people that came out to contest under the NUP in the youth elections, despite the so much intimidation, the promise to make us suffer, the beatings and everything. And I want to conclude by sending regards to my one good friend, Natabi Margaret. She's aspiring for female youth councillor in Mukono.
All right, I want to
thank
thank you so much, Ezra, Shamim, and Moses. You know, you being here and articulating your points in different positions and areas that you support gives me a lot of hope. A lot of hope because I've had an opportunity to have many Ugandans here, especially people in high positions of leadership, also try to talk. And most of them cannot even be as articulate as you are. So you guys are exceptional, you're phenomenal, and I see hope in you because you're far much better than most of the big guys I've seen here. I say that because I have a record, I have seen them. So in you, I see some hope. And sometimes you can sit here and disagree and stuff like that. I want to tell you, these guys, even in the break, they talk, they converse, they're like friends. So do not think that they hate each other. They may look like they hate each other, but they don't. It's just because they love Uganda more. Good night. God bless Uganda.